Hey there, guys. It's been quite a while since I made a power scaling video. So today we're going to go over Legendary and Warner Brothers Godzilla and where he actually scales, because he's both simultaneously overrated and underrated at the same time. And I try to go for the middle ground. So starting with his attack potency, you can get the easy stuff out of the way first. He shrugged off multiple nuclear weapons and can rip apart monsters that can survive them as well. As for bigger stuff, we go to Godzilla Awakening, where we see a gigantic asteroid strike the king of monsters while he's fighting another monster and create an explosion visible from space. This has been calculated into the country ranges on multiple various forums, and by myself included, and stated in the King of the Monsters novel to be comparable to the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. This would put it anywhere from few to possibly hundreds of teratons of TNT output, enough to destroy entire countries, varying in size. Furthermore, in Godzilla King of the Monsters, King Ghidorah is shown to create gigantic hurricanes of quite literally impossible size. Simply existing. You see in multiple shots from previews that they are the size of islands covering chunks of continents like Australia. In the film, one is even large enough to cover most of South America. I calculated most of these and gotten anywhere from large island results into the teratons as well. Meaning just King Ghidorah simply standing and flying around is powerful enough to wipe most countries off the map. Godzilla, of course, scales as he battled King Ghidorah multiple times throughout history and has defeated him in the past, which is canon, stated by director Michael Dougherty and implied in the novel as well, that Godzilla defeated King Ghidorah in a one-on-one confrontation. For scaling to other monsters, we have Mothra, through merely flapping her wings, hitting mountain-level energy by blasting apart some clouds. Rodan's mere awakening triggered a volcanic eruption that destroyed an entire city, and numerous other monsters were stated capable of creating earthquakes, tsunamis, and other disasters, and Godzilla scales above all of them, because as we see in the end of the film, all the other titans bow down immediately to a Godzilla who just got out of deathmatch with King Ghidorah, and is barely still on his feet, for suffering horrific injuries. Not only that, it's blatantly stated by director Michael Dougherty that will kill another kaiju for food, meaning he should be able to kill basically any of the monsters around him as prey. As for durability, it should scale to his attack potency. He's able to shrug off said meteor, as well as strikes, and move to Prime, which was able to, using its punches and sonic abilities, create earthquakes across essentially the entire planet in order for Godzilla to find it. It basically uses the strategy a tarantula wasp uses to catch spiders for their eggs. Godzilla is able to take multiple strikes from these powerful enemies without much damage, although against Muto Prime he was bleeding from its strikes after a certain point. Though it should be noted it was amping itself over time, so Godzilla should scale. It's also stated Godzilla is more powerful than it on a normal basis. As for King Ghidorah, Godzilla is able to take his bites and gravity beam attacks on a consistent basis. Some of them barely even made him flinch. He was amped up enough. As for speed, this is probably the part I regret. The Monsters doesn't have too many speed feats. You can easily give Godzilla subsonic speed on foot because an official test showed that he was running upwards of 300 miles per hour in Boston when charging King Ghidorah, and he was able to fight King Ghidorah, who was faster than Rodan, who stated to have supersonic flight speed, as well as also shown briefly running alongside the fighter jets in Boston, so he should be sub 2 supersonic off that. You could argue even higher, although many of the higher ends are not very consistent. For example, Mothra does use light to attack, but there's no real way to scale Godzilla to that. He can manipulate energy, of course, as he can absorb energy from nuclear detonations, as shown in King of the Monsters, as well as fire it through the atomic breath. He's also an experienced combatant, with fighting style stated to be similar to that of grizzly bears, Komodo dragons, and crocodiles, as shown in the films. He has regeneration, though it was slow, much slower than King Ghidorah's, as Godzilla did regenerate his entire row of dorsal plates over a period of possibly up to 5 years after the fight with Muto Prime. On top of that, we also see that enough energy will heal cuts, bruises, and scrapes that he got against King Ghidorah. He's also stated to have reactive evolution to a certain extent, though it shouldn't really apply for combat. On top of that, he also seems to have sort of sixth sense, as he was able to detect that King Ghidorah was going to awaken in the novel, as well as the tectonic movements. He can detect the presence of life forms such as whales and other monsters, as well as hear things such as radar used by the Mutos. Godzilla should be able to resist many things such as rodents, lava, and Skyla's nitroglycerin freezing. That covers base Godzilla. For nuke-amped Godzilla, he would just scale higher and have the same resistances as he dominated King Ghidorah utterly in Boston. Film showed this as somewhat even, and it's pretty clear Godzilla had the upper hand, batting away Ghidorah's heads until Ghidorah himself got an amp. The novel even makes it more apparent as Godzilla's mere spikes alone were cutting through Ghidorah and causing him pain. He was just hammering down on him to the point Ghidorah's regeneration, which could regrow entire heads, was starting to become overtaxed. Ghidorah then gets his amp, beats Godzilla by dropping him from orbit as Godzilla launches fire as he re-enters the atmosphere. And Ghidorah drains Godzilla for upwards of 1 minute when simply biting into Boston's power grid for a few seconds was able to turn a stop around with Godzilla fueled by a nuclear bomb. Getting into what happened next, Mothra sacrificed herself after getting one-shot by Ghidorah, showing a substantial power increase, in which her energy flowed into Godzilla. Ghidorah began to drain it, and Ghidorah was led away, and this allowed Godzilla to get back on his feet, revealed burning Godzilla to the world. Burning Godzilla, despite being heavily drained, re-shot him with the nuclear pulse attack, which eviscerated Ghidorah's wings, heads, and then most of his body, leaving only one head left, which Godzilla finished off with a blast of atomic breath. Since burning Godzilla was able to essentially one-shot Ghidorah, would scale as high as 10 times more powerful, which again are anywhere in the country ranges very consistently. There are higher calculations, such as one by Titanverse, calculating the Oxygen Destroyer up to 3 petatons, very high continental levels of energy. If you did the math, this would get burning Godzilla into the 30 to 40 petaton range, making him multi-continental. This is essentially as high as the Monsterverse goes. There was a statement in the novel saying Godzilla appeared to be like a shining red giant star about to go supernova. Taking this literal is pretty disingenuous, as it was only describing Godzilla's visual appearance, as he was pulsing with red energy, essentially like a supernova about to explode. To wrap up, Base Godzilla is anywhere from a large island and an absolute lowball to maybe as high as continental. Nuke-amped Godzilla should at least be country to continental. Burning Godzilla could be as high as multi-continent if you are a little generous to him. There's also a calculation for him being multi-continent, but I'm not sure about the method used. I'll leave that up to the viewer if they want to accept that. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day.